Well, good afternoon or good evening if you're in the USA, and if you are overseas, you're either in bed or up late, and if you're in the Pacific Rim, it is the following morning. So I am Mr. Simpler, Faster, Better, aka the guy in the blue shirt, Bruce Carnahan, and I am more than delighted to welcome our guest this evening, Mr. Tony. And so, Tony, over to you. Tell us a little bit about where you're located tonight. I know you're on Eastern Standard Time, so over to you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. First and foremost, thanks for the opportunity to be with you tonight and to share this platform. I'm actually in my house in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And
cool.
so you may hear a dog bark in the background or a kid scream or my wife yelled for me to do something, but that's just standard within my household.
Sure.
Definitely happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to engage with you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, you bet. So it's kind of interesting because I've been following you for a while, and we reached out and connected a couple of months ago, and I just said, hey, how about coming live? And you said, yeah, sure. And so thank you for being open, and also thank you for wanting to go with the flow. It's always much better to go with the flow, and wanted to welcome, hey, Gracie, thanks for joining us. So I'm actually working a project in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so I'm nowhere near home. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with the lighting either, because it gets dark at a different time than I'm used to. And the other thing is I'm working on a refurbished PC, which I got from a guy called Ken Chan. And Ken was introduced to me by 𝒕𝒊𝒗𝒆, who is now a close neighbor to where I live. So how about that? So 2 years after, it's amazing. 2 years after connecting with Tisha through LinkedIn, and then I did a little live stream with her as a guest, and then she became a guest of mine, and we just started to collaborate. And the more we collaborated, the more we realized that, you know, we had more in common, or we were more alike than we were disalike. And I love that about my guests. You know, we start off not quite knowing so much about my guests, and then as the live goes on, there's always stuff that I discover that, you know, who would have known, right? So that's the beauty of live streaming. You never know what you're going to get, really. So
Yeah, no, it's great. And I've been on multiple podcasts, and most of the folks I've stayed in contact with, and it's been fun, and we've supported one another, and LinkedIn has opened up a lot of doors that normally wouldn't have been open for me. So I'm grateful for that, and it's fun. And so again, this is your 106th episode, so I feel grateful for the opportunity to be with you and to be a part.
yeah, well, it's my lucky 106 to be with Tony. So
we'll see.
So you gave me a great segue into the fact that, you know, LinkedIn does open doors. So so maybe we'll cover, I told you we'd do a little fast tip. So for somebody that's maybe not sure, Tony, or just starting out, and you know, like you, I didn't get serious until a couple of years ago about LinkedIn. So what would be your, you know, a couple of fast tips to encourage people to get more plugged in and so they can open more doors? What would you say those were for you?
Yeah, I'm like you, Bruce. I didn't get started on LinkedIn seriously, especially creating content, until about 4 years ago. And I did it because I had transitioned from being internal within an organization to starting my own business. And a quick little fact around that is I'm awful at business development. I am not good at sitting down and asking for business. And so I had to find a way that was authentic for me to be able to reach and connect with people. And so the way that I started to do that is about 3.5 years ago, I started writing articles on LinkedIn. And back then, the algorithm actually for articles was a lot better than it is today. And I had a lot of people that supported me and shared my stuff and encouraged me. And as that's evolved, I've started to create different types of content, different videos, different images. And through that, actually got an opportunity. Forbes reached out to me and asked if I would be a contributor for their leadership and leadership strategy. And so the tips, for me, is know your niche. I know for me, I write and speak about self-leadership and leading others. That's who I am, and that's what I do. So know my niche. And the other thing for me that I've really learned is I have to love the process, because the ROI is not very clear for me. I don't ever know. And there's been no like big cash cow that's come through my door through LinkedIn, but I do know it's helped in relation to that. So you have to be consistent, and you have to love the process, because the ROI is not always clear in relation to that. And so consistency and enjoying the process is critical. I think too many people think it's hard, or they put out something that gets 3 or 4 likes and 5 views, and they don't want to continue. So I think for me, those are the things that have really been important.
Right. So the big stealers for me there from that fast tip is know your niche, be consistent, experiment with different media, because some people gravitate to other media easier than other people do. And I would add to what you said is be willing to use variation in your media, right? Because things change from time to time. And Gracie Ruth Melendez is, absolutely same. But my question back to you is, yeah, the ROA might not be clear, but who would have thought that Forbes would have how would have you gotten a reach out, or how could you have paid for the opportunity to get Forbes to reach out to you, right?
I could not have. In actuality, I had reached out to multiple types of platforms, and nobody ever responded. After I wrote 70 plus articles on LinkedIn, I was able to show them work. I was able to prove sort of concepts, sort of show them my lane. I developed a little bit of a following on LinkedIn, and you're right. It has provided opportunities that I feel like it's an investment, right? I feel like it's a way to scale that there's that in a way that I would never be able to scale again. And my scaling for me is just having positive impact with people, right? In my niche of self-leadership and leading others, trying to have a positive impact on people's day-to-day work and life. And it creates outreach in ways that I would never be able to do so. And so that's exciting and fun.
Well, I think the other thing, listening to you, and I follow and watch a lot of Meaningful Connections content, is that to me, I think we should redefine what return on investment means. And you brought up a few good points there. How do you really value social proof, right? How do you really value the depth and width of the consistency of the material that you bring forward, And to me, it's also about a legacy, right? How do you pass on? I mean, I got 46 years worth of process improvement stuff in my head, and there's only so much that you can download in any one segment. So to me, it's about being able to find the people that are willing to want to learn that and have the discipline to become the product of their own process. And so understanding the process is super critical. So maybe go ahead.
I love what you said, though, is around this legacy concept and having all of this knowledge and experience and the willingness to give it away. Right. And the desire to give it away. And without having, I think if you have expectations in return, you're always going to be disappointed in relation to that. And so I am right with you. I've, been doing what I do for 25, close to 30 years. And it's been, there's a lot there. I got files and reams and experiences. And just having a way to be able to put that out there, and then somebody reaching back out to you and saying, hey, this really helped me, and I want to thank you for that. Wow, that's a huge ROI around meaning for me, right? And around purpose.
Yeah, I think we should, maybe we should pioneer the whole ethos of what really is return on investment. Let's dump the cash envelope and maybe label it a different way. And what I also heard you say, another fast tip, I think, for others is that through that legacy, you obtain gratitude. And through the gratitude, you can actually pass on even more tips than you might otherwise be able to do. And then the best piece of that for me is when people take that wisdom and knowledge and then go apply it and use it to their benefit, right? I mean, what a great return on investment that is, right? One to many. If I can show you a little tip and you can go show 20, I mean, that's a 20-to-1 investment to me, right? So
yeah, and 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there wasn't a medium that enabled that unless you were on TV and small groups of people are on radio. So it's just a different world, and it's fun to be a part of, and it's really kept me energized about the work that I do and the passion behind it. It's let me be a beginner in a lot of new ways, which has really been great for me.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you don't begin with the end in mind, which is to learn at least one new thing a day, right? That's I was in a meeting today and something came up and it's like, oh my goodness, I didn't, you know, there was just a little pearl of wisdom. It's like, oh my goodness, I hadn't thought of that way before. And you've also got to be willing to be a receptor of that, right? And not do too much pushback when people come up with other thoughts about how things are or how things could be. So that's, to me, that's the hardest thing, because, you know, I think I know a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, it sort of goes down to some of the concepts around self-leadership and leading others, which is around, you know, how do you lead with questions and then fill in the gaps, right? Because you have so much, but when you lead with questions, your words are more powerful because you have understood the context, you've understood where they are in it, and then you can be really powerful with your messages and your experience.
Right. So you picked up on that straight away. I was going to also ask you about, because people, I think, get confused with self-leadership or self-management. They kind of think it's over-disciplined in many ways, I think. So tell us what, you know, you've obviously been a practitioner of this for a while, and we'll come on to the book a little bit later. But so what would be the top 3 things that you would say to somebody? What are the benefits of self-leadership or the self-motivation around self-leadership?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. And so the first is around, I came up with self-leadership, or it's been out there, and it's interesting you said it's sort of an overused or over-doctrinated. My experience is it's been under-doctrinated, underutilized. I have led functions in multiple global organizations that had performance management, you know, succession planning, high potential, corporate university function, team effectiveness, coaching, all of those things I've had. And my experience was 2 things: that your technical skills get you in the door.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But the people that have been were most successful with performance, with impact, with promotions are the people that excelled in the harder situations. And the harder situations are like giving feedback to someone, or working with a dissatisfied client, or having a boss that you don't like. I mean, it happens all the time, right? It's important, complex, and relational. So the first thing is, we were trying to develop people and develop their capacity. But what I really found is the technical skills get you in the door, but they don't really help you flourish unless you have this foundation of self-leadership. Mm-hmm. And throughout my career, at least the last 20 years, there's just been a deluge of research around self-awareness, emotional intelligence, mindfulness, empathy, social intelligence, learning agility, inclusion, all of those things. There's just been a deluge of research, but it's all vertical. It's all topical. And so where I was struggling, and where I really struggled, and where self-leadership, I started to put together a model around self-leadership, is because it wasn't practical for people to go learn all of those different disciplines and start to apply it. And so I used to work for a CEO, and what he told me one time is, he said, anyone can make something complex. It really takes someone who understands the topic and has a deep experience to make something simple.
And now you're talking my language.
Yeah. And so really with self-leadership, for me, my challenge was, how do we create something that's practical and human-centric that enables people to develop this self-leadership? Because I really believe this: who you are is how you lead. Mm-hmm. And if you don't focus and develop on the self piece, your passions, your skills, your knowledge, your experience is not going to be as effective because it all comes through you. And so I developed a model, and we really focused on what are the fewest most important things that enable people to get the results of self-awareness, emotional intelligence, mindfulness, empathy, learning agility. And so what are the fewest most important things that will enable that? And we put it into a model.
Awesome. So in my world, I would say that's a simpler, faster, better way to join all the dots together, because
yes,
the system is complex. And so what I find that one of my unique skills is I can look at complex things and make them simple, right? And so, but to do that, you have to have a lot of different things going on all at the same time. You have to have that awareness. You have to have some analytical skills. You have to be able to communicate complex issues and put it into simpler language. And so, yeah, that's kind of one of my fortes. I say I have this magic wand, right? I can go to a complex process, and usually I can also kind of feel and hear the beat of the process, which a lot of people can't do. And so I find it relatively simple to go to where the complexity is and then focus there, right? You can't do everything, so focus on those vital few things instead of the useful many, and really work on the vital few things, right?
Yeah, I love that. What are the fewest most important things that are going to have the biggest impact, right? And the reason I would project, the reason that you're good at that is because you've got such a strong framework of knowledge, skills, and experience that you can make these connections, and you can make them more simple for folks, right, and make them see them in a more practical way. And that's really what we were trying to do with creating this self-leadership model.
Right. Well, I also find that simple stories or simple analogies are a great way to explain something that's complex. If you turn it into an everyday little story about, why it is complex. And in fact, Gracie's commenting as well. Gracie and I go back and forth on this. So I send her a lot of words sometimes, and she visualizes, what I'm trying to get at. So my skill is in the experience I have, and hers is in the, hey, Bruce, make it visual, right? So
yeah, so I'm sure she's great at helping you with that.
Oh, she's amazing at taking my words and putting it into a few strong pictures, because I find it amazing. A lot of adults learn more with simple pictures than any other way usually. So
yeah. That's what we did with the self-leadership model. We used an acronym, right? It's SOAR: self, outlook, action, and reflection. And as you come, and so there's a visual with that, right? It's a cycle in relation to that. When you come to an important, complex relational situation, you always bring yourself, for better or worse, right?
Right.
And then the nature of important and complex situations has a distinct impact on your outlook, right? Your perception biases are heightened. Your threats around loss of autonomy, loss of competence, loss of relationships really impacts your reactions, right? And so how do you balance your outlook so you can be most effective in bringing the right actions, right? And our actions in relation to the workplace are usually through conversations. So how do we bring empathy? How do we engage in high stakes conversations, ask quality questions, engage when other people may be defensive? And then this last piece, reflection, is around how do I continually learn and reflect through practicing, getting feedback, asking, okay, what happened? So what? Now what? So you can continually be agile and grow. And so to your point, that's a lot of complexity. But what we wanted to do is put it in a simple model that highlighted what are the most practical, important things within understanding self-awareness, bringing your best outlook, bringing forward your best actions and reflection, which, by the way, helps with self-awareness and helps you bring a better outlook and helps you bring better actions. Then you reflect, and the cycle goes on, and it's replicable. And that was the whole simplistic, to, like you were talking about, process. Processes are huge and big, but what you do is you bring simplicity and clarity in relation to those things and bring, okay, what are the fewest most important things for impact? Bruce, did
Right.
I lose
Yeah,
you?
it's interesting because I work. No, we're good.
Okay.
We're good. Yeah. So it's interesting. I work in a 4-quadrant model as well under that simpler, faster, better thing. And one of the things that you said there in the reflection phase is that I also do a structured and guided lessons learned that most people, they spend all this time working on the process, but then they don't do that final high. All right, so we're buffering here.
Yeah, you're going in and out a little bit. I didn't know if it was just
All
me
right.
or.
Not sure if I'm still alive or not, but can you hear me, Tony?
I can.
Internet.
Yep, I can hear you. You were going in and out a little bit. Yeah, you were talking about your bigger or your simpler, faster, better, and so if you can start again, because I missed some pieces of it.
I was saying that I work in a 4-quadrant model like yourself, kind of simplified it down, and but the reflection piece, I find I do a structured and guided lessons learned, and a lot of people don't do that, and they waste all of that effort of the first 3 steps, as it were, and then that plugs back into that self-awareness or self-leadership thing through the structured lessons learned, right? So
yeah, I love that.
So
Bruce.
that's go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, I've spent my whole life in developing people. And if I were to say, what is the best development tool? It is reflection. And it is for teams, and it is for individuals. And so few people take advantage of that. So I agree 1,000% is what happens is you really don't create agility, you don't create growth, you don't create lessons learned, you don't continually improve your process. So I am such a huge fan, and individually and collectively, how do we reflect so we can continually grow and evolve and adapt?
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, because those structured people think it's like going to be a whole workshop, but I find that in a 20 to 30-minute structured lessons learned and getting into the real meat and potatoes of what happened or what the reflection is, that's priceless. And then you plug it back into the step 1, which is the self-awareness or self-leadership, and off you go again. And that's kind of my logo. That's the emphasis for my logo, the process cleanup, all those moving pieces that are cycling around each other. It's a circular combination of all of those things. So it is complex, but you can make it simple too. So
yeah, I think so. I think difficult conversations with your boss are complex, right? The huge systems are complex. They just are. And that's the world that we live in. And I don't think I think when you're teaching it, are working with groups through a process, I don't think you try to make something that is complex simple. I think what you do is try to apply simple practices and simple frameworks so people can be more effective in navigating that complexity. I mean, the reason things are complex, the way I define it, is there's no one answer that people know of, right? There's maybe a lot of answers, and nobody knows the best one at the time. So I think there are things that are complex. That's the world that we live in. But if we can enable people with practical, simplistic frameworks that can enable them to be more effective in that complexity, that's where we can help.
You bet. Absolutely spot on, my friend. So talking about frameworks, I know you've recently published a book. So tell us a little bit about the book and how somebody can get a hold of that treasure.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. So the name of the book is Getting It Right When It Matters Most, Self-Leadership for Work and Life. And so It's a co-author book. Me and a gentleman named Scott Carbonara spent 5 years working on this book, putting together the concepts. And I don't have to go into too much because the framework of the book is, how do you bring your best self to your most important, complex, and relational moments? And we call them moment that matters situations. What are the moments that matter? And then we introduce this self-leadership model, because the foundation of how you navigate life and work is based on you, right? And so when I'm at home and I have a hard conversation with my college-age kid, I want to, if I'm self-aware, I still can get triggered. How do I not let my triggers promote reactions? How can I gauge in actions that really serve my best long-term goals? How do I engage with him in a healthy, empathic way? And how do I reflect to be a better dad? Same with work, right? And so the book is really focusing on what is the foundation that enables us to express our passions, our hopes, our knowledge, our skills, our goals, our purpose in a most effective way. How do we bring our best self? And we can't control all the external, but what we can do is we can control how we show up around that. And so that's really what the book is about. And it really outlines the cycle of self, outlook, action, and reflection. And within that, it talks about what are the fewest most important things that enable you to walk away leveraging self-awareness, leveraging emotional intelligence, leveraging mindfulness, leveraging difficult conversations, empathy, and continually learning through agility. And that's what the whole concepts are about, is how do I practice this in a humanistic and practical way so I can get the benefits of all those concepts that have been proven to help me be a better person, but also a better leader.
Right. So yeah, I tell people that, you got to be able to tap dance to different music, right? So so that's my simple way of saying it,
Yeah, and to do so, you've got to understand that they bring goals, they bring challenges, they're up against certain things, that they bring fears, they bring emotions. So there's so many complexities within that. And so to your point, what you can control is how you dance with them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the rhythm and the beat, and whether you even choose to dance, right? You might want to walk away. So
or run.
Or run, that's right. Or go find a new dance partner, right? There's lots of choices, right, at that point. So
yeah, we actually talk about that. Sometimes you get in a situation, you're doing all these things, and the situation is abusive, or it's not healthy, or you can't find a leverage point to get something that it's impacting your well-being. The best thing is to walk away. The best thing is to understand that you did what you could do with this situation. You need to let it go and find another approach or find another avenue in relation to that.
Yeah, or change the music, right? That's the other thing. Change the music, and you might, it might jive with them more than the prior music. You never know, right?
That's right. That's right. But you'll never know unless you ask quality questions, right? You'll never know unless you ask them what they want out of it, what their challenges are, what they include them in the conversation around solutions around that. And learning how to approach and ask high quality questions. And because conversations are complex, but if you can get a framework, you can almost follow it every time. And so it can really help with that. But the only way we can show others that we care and about them, either professionally or personally, is taking the time to understand them, right?
Yeah. And it's the old Covey thing, right? He used to say, seek to understand before you can be understood. And those words have stayed with me from way back in my career. I did the traditional stuff, the Ken Blanchard stuff, the Covey stuff, all of that kind of, Crosby and blah, blah, lots of different Maslow, lots of different leadership models, and you glean a little bit from each of them. And that's what makes you flexible as well, right?
It is. And really, and I think it's no different than what you said earlier. None of the concepts in this book are new. What's new is the packaging around, it is packaged around how I approach situations. I bring myself, I need to manage my outlook. I need to bring the right actions, and then I need to reflect. And it's pulling, like you do, from a lot of different experts or a lot of different parts of the process to bring something together that's usable and practical and that people can replicate.
Right. So talking about replicating, I'm sure you would love to share your book with other people. So what's the best way of somebody getting the information on that, Tony?
Sure. There's a couple of ways. One is you can go to Amazon and look for Getting It Right When It Matters Most, or just look at my name, Tony Gambill. But it's also at Target and Barnes & Noble, and Business Expert Press was our publisher. You can go get it straight from there. Actually, they're creating an app that will be out in 2 weeks that you for the same purchase of the book, you can get an app that goes with it, which has a lot of applications. So I'll be promoting that on LinkedIn real soon. The other way you can find me, I produce a lot of content on LinkedIn. So just look me up, and I appreciate the follow and any comments. But 2 or 3 times a week, I'm putting out content. And then you can put Tony Gambill in Forbes, and you can go to my Forbes contributor page, and you can just follow my page. And anytime, I try to publish about 3 articles a month for Forbes, and it's again on self-leadership and leading others. And you can find me there. So those are the avenues that you can sort of connect and we can engage in. I love good comments. I love challenges, so I can learn from other people, and I love dialogue. And so I welcome folks to check it out and give me some feedback, and we'll learn together.
Yeah. So be careful what you ask for, right?
That's right. That's right.
You may get some challenges that you might not expect, but hey, they're opportunities to do something different, right?
That's right. That's right. And sometimes the challenges that I don't expect help me grow the most, right? So I welcome that.
Yeah, you bet. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching live. The software starting to play up. Now I've got a whole bunch of JavaScript. So we must have said the magic word or something. It converted to JavaScript. All right. Well, thanks for your time. If you'd like to hang on. And again, if you're seeing this as a replay, you can put #replay and still ask your question. Reach out to Tony, as he suggests, on LinkedIn or through his Forbes contributing, or however you would like to connect with him. He's a very friendly and super resourceful young man. And so,
well, Bruce, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you.
Hang on for a couple of minutes, and we'll get rid of this JavaScript. I don't know what that was, but.
Bruce, you're going in and